right, good morning everybody and welcome to Searing Saturdays. Today we're going to talk about cast iron. We're going to talk about seasoning your cooking grid. So we're actually going to talk about not just cast iron but cast stainless and rod stainless too. I've got some cast iron pans so we can make some comparisons and then really show you some realistic expectations on how to take care of the cooking grids on your Broil King grill. So I'm Ben Street, Culinary Director here at Broil King. This is Searing Saturdays. Let's get started. All right, so let's set the scene here. We've got some things laid out. We've got some cast iron pans. We've got 3 different types of cooking grades. Got some oils here as well. And then on the grill, we've got perfectly clean cooking grades. So we cleaned up the grill. We put a light seasoning on the cooking grades. We'll come back to that. But basically what we want to do is give you some tips on how to keep your grill looking like this and then why you want to do that. So let's go back to our materials first. When we talk about taking care of cooking grades, we always say the word seasoning. Now let's take a step back here to the pans. Seasoning we most commonly associate with those cast iron pans that Grandma has. Or in my case, I've got a large collection of cast iron pans. These are just 4 of my favorites here. When you season a pan, you put oil on it, and as that oil comes up to a higher temperature beyond its smoke point, it starts to polymerize, and it becomes this darker section that you'll see on this pan. This one's actually starting to lose its patina in the center, but it's keeping it around the outside. So the dark stuff around the outside here is called the patina. It's polymerized oil that becomes somewhat of a non-stick finish right on the pan itself. You can see in the center on this pan it's starting to break up. So what I might have to do on this one is, if I can re-season this and fill it in, that's great. Otherwise I may just have to strip this and start from scratch. Take a look over at the second pan here. So this is a nice, clean, shiny patina, and it acts like a non-stick coating right on the cast iron. It does take some time to build it up. So how do you get to that patina? Well, we'll go to the dirtiest pan right over here. This is this morning's leftover bacon grease. When you cook with greasy things, whether that's an oil or whether that's an animal fat, it starts to leave that residue on the pan itself. Now, when you get that residue up to the point where it can smoke, it becomes polymerized, which is that nice dark coating that you see here. With any type of cast iron, you don't want to strip it completely of all of its oils because what it's going to start to do is surface rust. And if you clean it right back to original every single time, it doesn't take on that non-stick characteristic. So what you try to do is you try to build it from this. This pan was stripped a couple months ago, so I'm just trying to build up a patina on it right now. You take it from this, which is nice clean cast, and then you get it to this. I haven't stripped this pan in months, so I'm starting to get some pretty thick patina on the sides here. Should be fine unless it starts to flake. With cast iron pans, taking care of that patina is a bit of an art. It's a lot of fun. You get great performance out of it, but it's way easier to take care of than cooking grades. So on cooking grades, you can build that up too. You can build up a patina over time, and you can get them nice and seasoned and nice and oiled. But the difference is, well, basically, those are meant to go onto your burner. They cook at a low to medium temperature. You're never dealing with a lot of smoke and incredibly high heat in your home. So these are babied. You don't give a cast iron pan all of the heat that you give your cooking grades. So when you treat them properly, when you oil them, when you don't work with too many really sticky things, you can build up a great seasoning on a cast iron pan, and it can last. The other thing is, when you're cleaning your cast iron pans, you're cleaning them with, one of 3 things. So to clean these up, I have a plastic card that basically scrapes off any of the big bits. I've got a soft bristle brush that I brush them down with. And then I've also got a chain cloth that can bust off any of the big bits, kind of like the scraping piece can. So if I've gone crazy and made some bulgogi in one of these pans, and it's got a whole bunch of burnt on bits, I can scrape that off with the metal cloth. We baby cast iron pans. We don't baby our cooking grades the same way. You're not cleaning these with a brush. You are cleaning these with a brush. You don't have a host of tools beyond your standard grill brush, maybe your grill scraper, to clean them up. So what we need to do is start to actually think about these like we think about this, but we got to be reasonable. Now, a lot of the instructions that you'll find in owner's manuals tell you exactly how to season your cooking grades the first time, and it would be how you generously oil them, get them into an oven or into the grill, because the grill is an oven, and then bake that oil on to give you that initial season. The challenge is that initial season is going to burn off the first time that you grill at a high temperature. So with any Broil King grill, you can get this thing up to a smoking hot temperature. You can bury the needle, and when you do that, you're going to burn this oil off. It's going to burn any of this oil to the charred bits that we might have left over here. So we've got charred food bits here, but we'll have, let's see if we can find some flake on here that I haven't scraped off. So you'll see this light flaking here. That is polymerized oil. They got too hot, and then it just starts to flake off and burn off, carbonizes, and comes off the cooking grates. So you can season them, but eventually you're going to get it hot enough to burn it off. So we got to get into a cycle that says, I want this, but I have to be realistic about this. So what I generally do with cooking grates is I will spray them down with my oil sprayer before I cook on them. I will have my food generously oiled before I cook, and then I'll grill. That part of it's done. Start with clean cooking grates, spray them down, make sure they're nice and oiled, you grill. That's your experience. But then afterwards, what you want to do is you want to brush them thoroughly so they're nice and clean, and then spray them with more oil, preferably while the grill's still hot. Not smoking hot, but hot. That way that oil gets a chance to sit on that material, to lose some of its mass and polymerize onto those cooking grates a little bit, and then it allows it to protect them over time. That's also going to prevent things like surface rust. So let's talk about surface rust. Here, we've got a cast iron cooking grate. I've flipped it over just so you can see the difference. Right beside it, I've got 2 cast stainless cooking grates, and then I've got a rod stainless grate. So over here, I have a bunch of grates that we cleaned up over a week ago. So, first grate, this is the cast stainless. This was cleaned up over a week ago and left completely dry in that same grill. And just from the ambient moisture, you can see we get a little bit of discoloration on the surface, kind of rubs off like a light dust. If you give this a quick brush or just a quick wash and season it, it's perfect. It's back to the way that those grates are looking. We go over to the cast iron, and because it takes a little bit more oil into the surface itself, it's got no damage whatsoever. Didn't really change, but it's dry. And if you leave it dry for long enough, just like your cast iron pans, you're going to start to see rust. So you want to get these seasoned as well. Now we go over the rod stainless grate, and if you clean these up completely, let's take a look at the cooked on grill maintain grates. They're dark. On the camera they look kind of gray, but realistically they're much closer to a brownish black. They're really dark on here because they've only been brushed and seasoned, and these ones were actually completely washed and scraped, so they're almost back to their original shine. You can see that there's some bronzing in it. That happens to stainless at high heats, but otherwise you can strip stainless right back to the original. Stainless will lose its patina very easily because it doesn't have that rough texture that you get on the cast stainless or on the cast iron. So stainless, you're going to expect that this is not going to build up. You basically want to do your best to make sure you regulate the temperature properly when you're grilling on this to prevent things from sticking, and then properly oil your food before you put it on there. That's what's going to prevent that chicken from sticking to this like glue every time you grill. So coming back to our 2 main materials here, cast stainless, cast iron. We want to make sure that they're seasoned by getting that grill hot, cleaning it off, spraying oil onto it, cooking our food, cleaning it off again, and then spraying oil onto it again to keep it maintained like this. You will get grime that builds up. You're going to have to brush it down heavily. But if you can get into that habit of basically burning off the old grime, turning it into ash, char it completely, brush it down, and then season your grates, they will last for a very long time. Now, if you're the type of griller that basically just wants to turn your grill off when you're done cooking and walk away, you've got to think of it more like a pellet smoker and less like a gas grill. On a gas grill, we're going to deal with, barbecue sauce, a lot of salt, a lot of high heat. So we're going to end up with dry, salty, sugary cooking grates afterwards that are just waiting for ambient moisture to attack them. What we really should think about is, on a pellet grill, this thing is always greasy. There's always going to be brisket or pork shoulder on this thing, or ribs in my case, and it's basically going to keep these grates seasoned. So that's cast iron cooking grate right there. It's always oily, it's always seasoned. I mean, even sliding my finger on it, it's slick to the touch right now. Now this has got to be clean before I grill on it. I don't want that on my food, but just as an example, these always stay oily, so they always stay seasoned. And I clean it off before I grill on it, and that's fine. But this grill, generally, because the gasser is right over there, this grill never really gets above 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually runs in the 200s. So when it's not getting too hot, it's not burning off all that oil. On the gasser, it's going to get hot, and it's going to burn off oil. So you want to get into a good cycle of clean, oil, grill, clean, oil, and then just let it sit. And that's what's going to keep your cooking grates from breaking down. So we'll go right back over here. We want to basically take the patina from this and put it onto this, but we have to do it in smaller doses because we know it's not going to stick around forever. And that's somewhat of a realistic expectation. So when you get those cooking grates the first time, you want to get them out of the box. You want to get them washed to get any of the manufacturing oil off of it. You want to basically get them coated in an oil, and then get them into your grill and then bake that oil on. Polymerize that first surface. You're going to be ready to grill after that. Try to build it up in layers, but remember, just like this guy, your grill is going to strip that seasoning off over time. It's just going to happen. You're going to have to keep working at it, building it up. It's a bit of a labor of love because the performance out of your cast iron or your cast stainless is going to be as good as, if not better than, your rod stainless grates. Mainly because you got two different sides on this, which is two different, completely different performance styles of cooking surface. So, now when we're talking oil, you're going to have a ton of recommendations on, well, what type of oil do I use? So in this bottle over here, I've got vegetable oil. Over here, I've got olive oil. When people talk about an oil that you're going to use to season this, they're making that recommendation based on the flash point. So in my oil sprayer over here, I've actually got rice bran oil, because rice bran oil and avocado oil would have the highest flash point out of any cooking oil, it's not an animal fat, that you're going to deal with. So they will burn off at a higher temperature than your standard cooking oils. Now, oil is better than no oil. Don't use motor oil or machine oil. These are food grade oils. You're using food grade oils to season your grates, but basically, using an oil to season your grates is going to work. It's going to take some time to build up a good protective layer. Any oil is better than no oil, but any of those oils that you see on a smoke point chart that have a much higher smoke point perform best. So rice bran oil is generally used in steel woks to season them before you start frying at incredibly high heats. They work perfectly on your grill as well. It's one of my favorites to work with. Avocado oil is a little bit expensive, that's why it's not generally on my list. But in any case, like I said, any oil will work. If you've got olive, use olive. If you've got vegetable, use vegetable. And season your cooking grates, because it's going to prevent this look that you have to clean off before you cook, right? Here's a good example of how your grill looks after it's dirty. This is a ceramic rod grate piece as an example here. It just shows you the difference. This would perform a lot like your rod stainless. So as you cook on it and you don't clean it, it builds up this grime in layers. And you want to be able to strip that off because you don't want that to stick to your food. I mean, I can see from this one here, you can actually just rub this stuff off. So you want to take the grime off, but then on these guys, you want to put the season back on afterwards because you don't want this on your food, even though it's oily. It might be kind of non-stick. Do you really want that sticking to your burger? No, absolutely not. So we want good, oily, seasoned cooking grates that are nice and clean because that's what's going to perform like this. You don't have to wash your pan like grandma does, but you still have to do something to get most of the way there. In any case, I'm Ben Street. This is Searing Saturday. If you've got any other great cooking grate, God, there's so many greats in that statement. If you have any great cooking grate care tips that you want to share with the Broil King community, let us know in the comments, and we'll get it out there. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.